Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's very abbreviated school committee meeting where we have just one substantive agenda item, which is discussion and possible vote for the school committee to be lead petitioner on a proposed warrant article to be submitted to the 2024 annual town meeting to allow and support the construction of a geothermal heating cooling system beneath the Pierce School playground as part of the Pierce School building project. Now, before we move to a vote, Helen, would you like to offer some broader context?
Sure, absolutely. I think most of you were at the legislative meeting when I discussed the Article 97 issues with the playground where we want to put the geothermal wells. And in order to do that, even though we're not changing any open space, we're going to put back what's there. Everything will look the same. We are putting something under the ground. And so therefore we need to petition the legislature to allow us an Article 97. I think Joe's going to help me with this. I think it's an exemption or something to be able to do the project. In order to get to the legislature, we have to have the school committee we need a warrant article at the town meeting. The school committee is going to be presenting that because it's our school. And we will be, hopefully town meeting will vote it. And then we'll need to, after they vote, we will immediately need to get to the legislature because they end their work on the end of July and then don't start up again until January. And the problem would be we need this permission to do the work and to start putting in the geothermal wells. The time schedule is such that it's critical to get this through this summer. I think, are there questions from people about why we're doing it or what we're asking of you here tonight?
Yes, Valerie and Natalia have questions. Valerie, go ahead.
Thanks. Helen, did Rep. Vitolo say that he thought that time frame would be a problem for us, or?
No, they thought they could do it, but it'll just be, it'll be tight. Everybody was on board. I think the fact that Ruth Balzer was the person, our Representative Balzer was the person who did the legislation on Article 97, and she certainly wants to help us. So I don't think it'll be a problem.
So after town meeting, though, and maybe Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't it have to go through select board to go to the State House? Okay. Correct. Yep. So how do we move that to select board then, Joe? How do we make sure that that goes in a timely way?
So it wouldn't be able to go to the select board until after town meeting, but it would go before the select board and then go to the legislature. In this type of home rule, by the way, Joe Callanan, town council, sorry if I didn't introduce myself. But this type of home rule petition requires a recorded roll call vote. So that's why we're under the July 31st deadline, as opposed to the end of the session deadline of the first Wednesday in January. So we really, really do have a very compressed time frame. But Helen has given the legislative delegation a heads up on that we need to start this process. Really, this is the first vote, but there's going to be lots of votes until town meeting. And then when town meeting's done, it'll have to go back to the select board, then to the legislature, and go through the dozen steps that a bill needs to go through to become law to get to the governor's desk by the end of July.
We will, just to add to what Joe's saying, we will need to get a unanimous vote from Parks and Recreation, at least them. I don't know if there's any other groups that we need to have a unanimous vote from, but it would be helpful to have it from everybody.
Yep. Because in
go ahead.
Sorry, so Joe Callanan. So in a land disposition situation like this, you need the approval of the government entity that has the care, custody, and control, which is the Park and Rec Commission. Since it's playground playground land, you also need the permission of the Conservation Commission. So we have other bodies that we would need to go before, in addition to advisory, because it's a warrant article, in addition to town meeting, in addition to the select board at the end, before it even gets to the legislature in June.
And just so everybody knows, we did go before the Parks and Rec last, I think it was when we were first started talking about this and last summer. And we did get a vote at that point. But I think we have to go back with the warrant article and with everything more official.
All right, Natalia, did you still have a question?
I mean, my question was just, is a home rule petition the only way we can do this? It seems so convoluted. And Tommy typically says that home rule petitions are not for things like that are, you know, they have to somehow be unique. But it sounds like in the answers to Val's questions, I guess this is the only way, and it's been discussed, and so it's fine.
I have two
All right,
things on that.
Well,
Mariah,
we
I
do
also saw
have,
that you had your hand up.
maybe I can add to that just to help Natalia. Yes, we do need to go to, we have a consultant who does this all the time. And she's recommending that we go to the legislature and get the permission. That's the way, the only way to do it.
And if I could add, if you were to transfer, say, school land to general purpose government, or the library land to the school, you wouldn't need to go to the legislature. There's a principle called the prior public use doctrine. You'd need permission from all the boards, but it can be handled within the town. Article 97 is an amendment to the Massachusetts Constitution that stems from the early 70s to give an extra layer of protection to parks and open space. So to transfer parkland, you need to actually get that state legislative approval, never mind the local legislative approval. So there's an extra level of protection for parkland. So we do have to go to the legislature. And we have to have that recorded roll call vote too. So that's an extra layer of protection for parkland. We do have a meeting, the consultant and I, with staff from EEA, because this is a new regulatory decision from EEA. You actually, under case law and the decisions of the courts, you don't need Article 97 approval and disposition to put something under a park. Because if you ever parked in the Boston Common garage, that's under the Boston Common. And there's actually a lawsuit in a case from the state's highest court on the fact that you can put things, you used to be able to put things under a park because they don't interfere with the actions on the park. But however, a recent regulatory decision from EEA says, even when you're changing, and in this case, that's all we're doing, the subsurface of the park, we're going to have a temporary impact of the park during construction. But the only permanent change of this park playground is below ground. And even under those circumstances, you need to go through this Article 97 disposition process, which includes an act of the legislature, formal roll calls, more than 2/3, and a signature of the governor to change parkland.
All right, thank you. Mariah?
My question was answered. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, would someone like to move?
I'll move the question.
All right, thank you, Stephen. So Stephen moves that the school committee be lead petitioner on a proposed warrant article to be submitted at the 2024 annual town meeting to allow and support the construction of a geothermal heating cooling system beneath the Pierce School playground as a part of the Pierce School building project. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Helen seconds. Helen, your vote.
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mariah,
Yes.
Natalia,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. Andy, you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. So normally the lead petitioner on a warrant article will also need to write a warrant article explanation. Should we assign somebody to do that at this point?
I think you wrote up an explanation there, didn't you, Joe?
Yeah, there's more to come, but
There's,
but that's what I was getting at. So you voted to be the lead petitioner, but before you is a draft. So I was wondering if you could delegate to less than a quorum of your committee to work with me on the final version. So for example, the deadline is tomorrow. There would be minor non-substantive edits between now and tomorrow. But if you look at the draft, there are some, more fill in the blanks, like we need an actual plan. We need the description of the plan. We need the meets and bounds. I got to look up the 4 deeds in the books and page. So what was before you is a draft, but if you could take a vote to delegate less than a quorum of your body to work with me on a final draft, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you do that, I'll even write up your explanation for you. That less than a quorum of your board will approve.
and I recommend that Andy be the liaison to Joe. Andy,
All right,
will you take that on? Because I'm going to be in a plane and Joe won't be. I would do it, but I don't think he wants to try and go back
So
and forth.
this would be we'd be working on this like over the next day or two.
It's the edits between now and noon are very minor, but there's a lot more, like you pointed out, like the explanation. It doesn't need to be done by tomorrow noon, but it will need to be done over the process.
Okay, sure. I'm willing to do that if the committee so wishes.
And if you need help, I'm happy to help. It's just tomorrow I can't do anything. So if something has to be done tomorrow. Okay.
All right, so Andy will be the liaison. Any further discussion or additional questions? Seeing none, is there any new business? All right, there's no new business, so that concludes our meeting for this evening. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.